We are live now. Hello, everyone. How are you today? Welcome.
By the way, I'm not drinking moonshine. This was a nice big jar, and I figured I'd drink out of it.
Second you say you're not drinking moonshine is the second everybody starts to think you're probably drinking moonshine.
Yeah.
You know, there's a big thing like, you guys wouldn't know this because you don't have teenage daughters.
I mean, I don't know of any anyhow.
At least I don't think you're dating teenage daughters.
No, I'm not dating, but I was saying, otherwise.
No, but anyway, so the new thing at these schools where they have they have the big football games outside now. The big thing for teenage girls and guys to do is to empty out water bottles and fill them with vodka and bring them into the football games.
Oh God, how 1979 of them.
I know, as if they're drinking, and if you drink an entire water bottle of vodka like this or
you're
whatever,
done.
You're gonna die. I mean, you can't do it. It's just terrible. So this is what's happening. It's a big problem now. So they've banned all water bottles now from the stadium.
Oh come on! I mean,
well, you have to if their kids are doing that, Mike. What do you want them to do?
Jesus. Well, all I know is
look, the kids should do the decent thing and bring in a flask, so this way the other kids who really drink water could bring in water. But they didn't do that.
Do what my wife does, which is hide it in her bra. Like my wife has one of these. My wife has this wine, this bra wine thing.
Right.
Ever seen that before?
No, but you've told us about it.
No. Well, I got one better.
I don't think I've ever told you guys about it, have I?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you mentioned it. Actually, I went to see Lilith Fair 20 years ago, if you can believe it. I know Russ laughs at that, but I'm sorry, it's good music.
I played Lilith Fair 20 years ago, Mike, so I'm not laughing at you at all.
It's hard to defend Lilith Fair, Mike.
No, it's not. No, it's not. When you see Sarah McLachlan, there's nothing wrong with that.
You're very
but back then they had very strict rules against photography, and I had a 35 millimeter Minolta camera with a zoom lens that I wanted to get some shots of. So the only way I could figure to sneak that in was to tie the lens to the inside of my thigh.
And just stop the show, Mike. I don't know what else you want to do.
This is like the guys getting
right there.
Getting the octopus into Detroit, right?
Yeah, and let's just say they thought I was the most well-endowed man in the history of Toronto. So, anyway.
Yeah.
That's amazing. No, I mean that was the good old days, where you couldn't tape anything. Now everybody tape everything. Right? So now, sure. I mean, I remember when it was only the Grateful Dead that would let people tape things.
Yes.
And we're gonna switch to baseball for just a minute. And then we'll have a hockey tie-in, and then we'll hit the show. But the baseball part of this is, the New York newspapers are really getting insufferable. And there's a Japanese player, Ohanti, who he's coming into Major League Baseball. He's deciding where he wants to play. And a lot of people assumed, hey, he's going to, like Mike, which is fair, hey, he's going to play for the Yankees because the Yankees had the most money to spend in this situation. It's a complicated money system, but he's not going there. He basically said, I want to go to a smaller market. And so the New York Daily News puts on the front page or back page, or if it's a real newspaper or a fake newspaper, I don't know what the New York Daily News does anymore, but they put it on there, what a chicken or something like that. And I'm thinking, here's a guy who comes from a place that there's 127 million people and not much open space. If this guy wants to go to a smaller market because he actually maybe like to own a house with a little land and not feel so cramped, who's to blame him?
Well, we have an update to this story, Russ, because apparently Mr. Ohtani has not excluded Chicago or Los Angeles. So apparently he wants to avoid the caustic northeastern media places like Philadelphia, Boston, and New York, and any place that's closer to Japan like Seattle, LA. I don't know about Chicago, but he's more open to those places.
But Seattle and San Fran are still the two highest on his list. So we'll see how it goes. The other one is Larry Brooks. So Larry Brooks wrote an article today basically already saying that Derek Stepan trade was a failure for the Rangers and the front office overestimated it. My problem with this is a couple things. First thing is Derek Stepan's only got 18 points this year. The Rangers wanted to save his $6.5 million salary that lasts like 2 or 3 more years. That was the first thing. The second thing is they got a first-round pick who they got with Elias Anderson. And just like I told you, I think the Rangers did draft him because he was a little more accelerated, because he played against men than other players, but he still wasn't going to be a guarantee to make the team. I don't think anybody in the Rangers organization thought that. But again, that's how Larry sort of wrote that. Yeah. And at the end of the day, and then he said, of course, DeAngelo's playing in Hartford. Well, that may be a failing of DeAngelo, and it also could be a failing of Vigneault too. So,
yeah, but this is the failure of Larry to recognize that deal was when we were at the draft, Russ, everybody heard that deal and said, okay, the Rangers, they're not rebuilding, but the Rangers are retooling and they're clearing salary.
Right.
And that was the whole motivation for it. Anderson is what, 19 years old?
19 years old. He's playing overseas. Now, Larry's acting like this was the will of the organization, like, hey, they were going to try and get Anderson to play this year no matter what. And I posted a link to SNY where basically Jeff Gordon was on the air saying, hey, we're all getting together to decide what to do about Elias Anderson because we don't want him playing like bottom line minutes or anything like that when he's a potential top line player. And so at the end of the day, they decided to send him back, which was the right thing, which clearly shows that the Rangers' plan wasn't to force him into the lineup no matter what. And so I really didn't like the article because that's how a writer can create unrealistic expectations for a player, especially in a market like New York.
That's fair. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Totally right. I don't know.
That's it. I'm done with the show now.
Yeah, that was a good rant. It was a good rant. I can't add anything to it. I was just surprised when someone just tweeted me that they wanted to find out more about the bra holder thing. So I was like,
of course they didn't want to know anything about me sneaking a lens into a concert.
No, so here it is. If you're curious, it's called the Wine.
Oh my God.
The Wine Rack 200-008, and yep, there it is. It's it, and it's it's very effective for concerts apparently.
Clearly, it comes in all sizes, right?
Yes.
I'll take the double D.
Oh yeah. All right. I knew I shouldn't have gone there. Bad show for this.
No, I was going to talk a little football. I was watching the game last night. It's fun to watch those. I mean, I'm not a huge football fan, as you guys know, but it's hard. Carson Wentz is a HockeyBuzz fan, so I've gotten into like the hockey thing a little. The Eagles again because he's pretty phenomenal to watch. Really exciting player.
Not last night though. They were shut down.
No, he had a horrible night last night, but the one play he made was just so unbelievable that it was just. I mean, he was running out of the pocket, falling down, threw the ball 45 yards in the air.
Now here's the thing, Eck. Yeah. And this is where there's a big failing of the radio and print media in this town saying that Wentz is an elite quarterback. Russell Wilson is an elite quarterback. Making plays like that, beating the Eagles the way he did, that's an elite quarterback. Wentz is not at that level yet. He may get there, he may not. But the point is, this is what separates guys like Russell Wilson and Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. And that's, unfortunately – that's where I think there was an accelerated pace here in this town, and the expectations grew drastically. And now they're going to face a Rams team that's just as good as they are.
Yeah, no, this is a tough part of their schedule for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're so far out ahead, it doesn't really much matter.
No, it does matter because they are only a game ahead of the Saints. They're only a game, I think, ahead of the Rams. And I think Minnesota's tied with them, Mike. Is that right?
Something like that. I mean, you got to remember, I've completely tuned out because I'm in Buffalo where we don't have an NFL team. Yeah. We have the Bills.
Here's the last thing. Echo get a kick out of this. In the Jet game yesterday, two unprecedented things happened, and it wasn't the Jets for a change.
The Jets won.
Well, the Jets won in the fourth quarter. That's one unprecedented thing for this year. But there was a player on Kansas City, on Andy Reid's team, who everybody in Philly is familiar with, that literally after – he got called for a penalty, left the field. First he flew through the flag in the stands,
right?
Which I've never seen before. He actually threw the penalty, and a fan caught it.
You buried the lead there, Russ. You buried the lead.
Well, but I don't know. I don't know which one's bigger. So he did do that, and then he left the field and went to the locker room. And you hear about a minute later, the analyst is like, "We just checked with the referees. He wasn't kicked out of the game. This guy literally just left." And that's Mike coughing, even though the Tang is curing his cough. But I'm just updating everybody on that. But anyhow, so
why did I even mute it for?
Everybody's like, the Chiefs need this guy in case they get the ball back. Like, he can't just leave. So he does come back from the locker room without any socks on.
Really?
just in case. Now, if it were me today, I would have cut that guy today.
Yeah, you gotta. No, that's ridiculous.
He's one of the best players. I would have cut him, but I don't think the Chiefs did. So.
No. And Andy Reid especially, you would think. Yeah, that's interesting.
I know.
Something along those lines for hockey. Let's get started the show.
All right, let's go.
On Saturday, that was curious to me. All right, here we go. Hello, Hockey World. It's December 4th, Monday, 2017.
Hee-haw, I'm Michael Lagello.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
Mike is not drinking moonshine. And I'm Eklund, and you're watching HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. It's the podcast that comes every Monday through Friday. This time to believe it on the comings and goings in the hockey world as you know it. And I wanted to start with Saturday, and unfortunately, starting with the Philadelphia Flyers again for what hopefully will be the last time we have to talk about them for a while. Although they're on a West Coast trip with 3 games now that are of course pivotal games, or are they, Russ? Because I don't know anymore if there's anything pivotal with the Flyers at this point as far as.
The only thing pivotal is if the coach keeps his job or not.
Yeah, whether and the Bruins. So the Bruins come in, and I wrote this incredible statistic that the Bruins. I found. I just was curious about it, and thinking about it, I was just like I was amazed at the fact that the Bruins and the Flyers they seem to always play on Saturday afternoons, and the Bruins always seem to kill them. It's like whenever they play in the afternoon, like the Flyers are pretty competitive with the Bruins overall record-wise, but when Saturday afternoons, it's like it's never a contest for whatever reason. I looked it up, and it is crazy. It's like 15-2 the Bruins are getting 10 years against the Flyers on Saturday afternoon games, something like that, and they've scored like 30 more goals than they've given up. It is ridiculous. So the Flyers came out really strong against the Bruins. I mean, they had 3 days off. They came out. Wayne Simmons gets in a fight. Everything's flying high, and then it just took 1 goal, and the team, by Ryan Spooner gets a breakaway, and then kind of the wheels fall off, and the Flyers end up getting shut out, in this like must-win at home. And it's rare because when the announcers start dissing the coach, because we got to remember these guys work for the team, and you don't usually hear like Morgani and stuff like that say stuff bad about a coach. But he kind of gave it to Haxtell afterwards about the fact he's got to make adjustments during the game. If something's going on, you got to adjust things. He's like, there's no adjustments being made in these games.
There was a bunch of things that went on in that game. All right, so let's go through them. The first one was actually. I went and spoke to Sean Corrali after. He used to be with the Sharks, as you remember, Eck. He got traded in the Martin Jones deal. Plays 4th line for the Bruins. Was killing the Flyers all day. He didn't get any points, but on the penalty kill, he was getting shorthanded chances. So that was something where the Flyers have been – this is something that's really part of Hackstall now, where the Flyers have been really when they have the power, when they have the man advantage, they're always susceptible to shorthanded goals, and Corrali almost got one. That's one thing. Corrali also talked about the fact that, hey, they knew the Flyers were really desperate for a win, so they wanted to get that first goal badly. And clearly they wanted it more than the Flyers. The Flyers, even after the fight, still didn't have a lot of fight in them. That fight did nothing to sway the emotion of the team. And after that first goal, I don't want to say they mailed it in, but they pretty much mailed it in. I mean, they made it very easy for Tuukka Rask. Basically, the Bruins outskated them the whole game. The Flyers had very little puck possession in their offensive zone. If they went in there, they took a shot, and they couldn't get a rebound, and they couldn't get control of it. The power play, the first power play they took looked like the first power play they've ever taken as a team. And after all those days of practice, it should not have been that way. Gostisbehere missing the net, a lot of guys missing the net. A lot of it's mental now, and I don't think this coach can cure it anymore.
No, it's very mental, and you can see they get the goal that's called back, which was a horrible call. I mean, it
was a horrible call. It
was one of the worst goalie interference calls I've seen.
I think it's the worst because here again, I'll liken it to football. When last night there was a call for pass interference, but Doug Peterson did this, basically saying the ball was over his head. There's no way he can catch it. Refs got together and said, you know what? We're not calling the pass interference because it was an uncatchable ball. Rask was not even set up to stop that shot. It was going the complete opposite side. He would have to be the guy from the Fantastic Four, Mr. Fantastic, to make that save. So the fact that he got brushed by Simmons shouldn't have mattered.
Maybe Simmons' elbow touched him. Maybe it was that.
It did. We watched it 5 times, maybe 6. It did graze him, but again, he was all the way in the opposite corner of the net. But now they're going by the letter of the law with this. Yeah. And so, now the goalie doesn't even have to be even close to making the save. They're going to call it.
Yeah,
no,
the time for it to happen because it's obviously that it's like there's 1 minute to go in the period. Flyers are down by 3. They're looking for any kind of spark, and we're down by 2, I guess at that point. Looking for any kind of spark, and they get I don't know what it was, but they get a goal. Just with 1 minute left to go in the period, and then it's called back, and then they go. But then there was a point later in the game when there was a disallowed goal by the Bruins on a high stick. That was obviously a high stick. It was totally an obvious high stick, and during that period of time. And that one, for some reason, like the Simmons thing was solved in like 30 seconds. The high stick, which was everybody knew was a high stick, took like 3 minutes to decide, right? Which is fine. I get it. You have to look at all the different angles and everything like that. But what occurred to me during that is the entire time that's happening, Hackstall's talking to the linesman, and I'm thinking, why not when you have a delay like that and your team's in this desperate situation, why aren't you pulling your team together like it's a timeout, like on the bench? Why aren't you getting everybody in? I mean, is that illegal or something? I mean,
no,
coaches do it.
I would have jumped. Look, when the no goal came in, I would have jumped up and down on the bench like Emile Francis and gotten kicked out just to get.
That's the other thing. That's the other thing. They were all talking about how Hackstall didn't do anything.
He was emotionless.
And it really is. It's starting to.
Post game barely talked about it.
Yeah, it's just. I mean, it's just crazy. So now the Flyers go out on the road for 3. They play the Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver swing over the next 3 games, and that'll be starting tonight.
And 2 of those teams they haven't matched up well against at all so far.
Well, related to the Flyers, though, it was interesting that on Saturday night, the Saturday night headlines on Hockey Night in Canada, one of the panel indicated rumors about Wayne Simmons possibly being on the block, and I sort of find it hard to believe. I don't distrust the report from whichever person it was on the panel, but it's only makes sense if they know Simmons is not going to re-sign there because he's under a fairly reasonable deal at $3.975 million this year and next year. And the only thing I can think of is they don't think they're going to be able to sign him for what he's going to expect to get in free agency. It seems a little.
I don't like the report. I don't trust the report. Simmons is really invested in this team. And the city. I mean, here's a guy, just to show you how invested he is in this city. When the Winter Classic was here, they also had that AHL Classic. And Wayne Simmons literally bought tickets, and he had like the last 2 seats in the stadium watching the AHL outdoor game with his girlfriend. Like that was, he doesn't have to do that, but he does stuff like that because he likes it where he is.
Well, Russ, I mean, the thing is, that's him, and that's not the organization. It's the question of he may want to stay in Philadelphia based on being paid what he's worth because we know what he's worth. He's a very good forward.
Sure, but remember, he's from the Kings organization, and Hextall was there, I think, when Wayne Simmons was drafted, and there's that whole story. And Dean Lombardi is now with the Flyers. And again, they love Wayne Simmons. Wayne Simmons was sleeping out of his car at one point when he was trying to make the team. I mean, Lombardi and Hextall are here. I don't think they're letting Wayne Simmons go.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think they can. I mean, what the question is,
I mean, they can, right? Anything can happen, but I just don't.
I mean, they can't and expect to move forward at all because they need scoring so badly. And the question is, will Simmons take a little bit less? Like you're saying, is Simmons going to demand $7 million a year? I don't think that's going to happen. I think Simmons will get a long-term deal at like 5.5 or something like that. Like that's how I think it'll play out. I think he would rather sign 8 years for a really significant amount, but not. I don't think he's going to hold him out for $6.5–7 million a year.
Right. With Voracek's deal, with Giroux's deal, you probably can't have another player over $7 million at least.
But they can because they'll have a cheaper goalie because they'll have a rookie goalie at one point, so they might be able to float that, Mike, because all their defense are under manageable deals, and so is their goaltending. So they probably can do it if they feel like it's worth it.
Got Provorov and Gostisbehere coming up.
But Provorov's not really coming up. They can go another deal without having to do anything. And Gostisbehere could be the odd man out if he doesn't start playing better. He really could be.
Well, I mean, with Provorov, they probably it's more beneficial. A lot of teams want to get that player signed after the second year, so they don't have 3 years. Especially somebody who comes in right away at say age 19, they would rather go into that and get that long-term deal after 2 years rather than them putting up 3 big years and then having to probably spend $6 million a year on a 22-year-old.
Yeah, I mean, remember, they're going to lose Matt Reed's deal after this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to help. And there's talk that the cap's going to go up very significantly.
No, I mean,
like it did this year?
No, like $4 million somewhere.
Okay, we'll see.
Yeah, the report was up to $80 million.
Yeah, which
I think they're getting into dangerous territory. I do.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I remember that all the money they've made from Vegas is counting.
I know, but you can't go by that. Here's the thing. Remember when we used to complain about the Rangers and Flyers, the number that they were paying when they were making stupid contracts to guys like Bobby Holik and Mike Rathje was around $77 million, if I remember.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know. No, you're right. You're right. No, they're up there.
And Vegas's ticket sales, that's part of hockey-related revenue.
Yeah.
But the $500 million is not.
Oh, I know.
So,
but it is money that the owners feel. But remember when Bettman comes to the owners and they say, you know, where do you want the cap to be? The owners have that money in their pockets. They feel better about spending it. They just do. I mean, the reality.
Well, the one thing I'll say about 99% of the hockey owners, they will reinvest in the sport. Where, like in baseball, I would say 30-40% of them don't. They don't even bother.
right.
Yeah.
They live off the luxury tax and the extra money they can make off of that, and they never go over spending whatever their self-imposed cap is that year, even though baseball is uncapped. So I do give hockey owners credit for that. But I just think there is a point where it gets dangerous.
Yeah. No, there is. We talked a little bit about. I want to get in Buffalo in a second.
I know agents are probably not happy with me now, but tough.
Well, no, it's. I mean, it gets dangerous in terms of are we going to get another friggin' lockout too? Like it gets.
That's the thing. If all of a sudden you start paying big contracts and are giving it to guys that don't produce, then owners want to lock out after that.
Yeah, it was warm in Buffalo this weekend because we had a raging tire fire here. And that's called the Sabres.
Yeah, go ahead and talk about them a little bit.
Well, I mean, okay, and I have to lump in the Bills here. The Bills played the Patriots. The Sabres played the Penguins twice, Friday and Saturday. So the two incumbent champions of the NFL and the NHL, and Buffalo teams lost 32-4 in those 3 games. Now, okay, that's expected from the Bills because the Bills are terrible, and it's Tom Brady. From the Sabres, there was more expectation this year of this team being better, being more competitive, and everything has fallen completely away. They're not getting consistent goaltending out of Robin Leonard. Their defense has been hurt again this year. I mean, they finally got Zach Bogosian back on Friday, and I didn't see the play, but apparently he was undressed on 1 goal. And okay, you can say, well, you know, he's been out for all this long, give him some time, fine. They're paying this guy $5 million a year. You expect him to be something more than a bottom pairing defenseman.
Yes.
Their defense has been decimated by injuries, but the thing that's killing them the most is that they have the 31st ranked offense in the NHL with 56 goals. I mean, you spent $6 million a year on Kyle Oposo. He's doing nothing. You spent $7 million a year on Ryan O'Reilly. He's doing next to nothing. We do have to give Oposo
a little pass. He's still recovering.
I understand that, but
I know.
But your highest.
No, but I think the thing. Yeah.
Say that again?
I think what you're seeing though is I mean, with Ryan O'Reilly, with Molson, with Okposo, you're seeing. I heard. I think it was Harrington. They're one of their reporters on the radio, and he nailed it basically. He said, "Listen," he said, a lot of those guys were picked up around the time the Kings were winning the Stanley Cup, like when you had like big forwards, and now they all look really slow. Like that's
it's okay. It may be a change in philosophy, which is ironic because the Sabres were the team that benefited from the change from the slower, bigger league to the quicker league after the lockout. But it's more this. It's more the fact that when the Sabres did the tank and they went after either McDavid or Eichel, Tim Murray was so quick to come back right after that and add payroll. He traded Molson to Minnesota, dumped him for a draft pick, and then he re-signed him for $5 million a year. They made the trade for Bogosian and Kane. That was $10 million in salary between the two, a little over $10 million between the two of them. They didn't do what Toronto did. They didn't clear out Kessel.
Right, and Botterill didn't do these things either.
And Botterill was basically held captive by this, because this is something that was set in motion by Terry Pegula and Tim Murray. And now you've got, there are some contracts that are falling by the wayside. Josh George's and Evander Kane's going to be traded before the deadline. But you've got a lot of dead money on this payroll. They've waived Matt Molson today. He's got another year at $5 million. It's a foregone conclusion. He's going to get bought out at the end of the year. But they may buy, they probably, good luck trying to find some sucker who's going to take Zach Bogosian with 2 years left on his contract.
Yeah. Now there's two positives, I think, still for Buffalo. They did call up Evan Rodriguez, who was a line mate of Jack Eichel at Boston University, and he's another big kid who could skate. And maybe there'll be something there where they're hoping to, get some familiarity. That's one thing. The other thing is the trade that they got for Scott Wilson. Detroit basically sold Scott Wilson for like 10 cents on the dollar, maybe less, because when he was traded to Detroit gave Pittsburgh Riley Sheehan and a pick, and they got Wilson and a lower pick. So it was like Sheehan and a third for like Wilson and a fifth or something.
Right. They wanted to get Sheehan's contract gone. That's what
right.
that was.
And now they gave up Wilson for a fifth in 2019. Yeah. So basically that's like getting them for nothing. And what Buffalo does is, and this was something that I think is really important, they have a culture of losing in that locker room. Getting rid of Molson helps start getting rid of that. Not that he's not a positive guy, but he's just been losing and been part of that bad team for all these years. Yeah. And you bring in a guy with Wilson who, yes, albeit a role player, has won a couple of cups in his recent, history, and with Botterill. And so you bring in a guy who's not going to take that, who's not going to stand for that, who's not going to want to be on a team that's really floundering. So he'll probably, be vocal.
This is the problem. This is the problem with that. The problem is that when Botterill and Housley came in, there was a very thorough changeover, like 7 or 8 players. Pouliot, Jordan Nolan. They brought. I mean, what they didn't touch was the core group of the team. Now, what you see now is that right now this core group is not winning. It doesn't seem like they're capable of winning. Now, obviously, they're not going to trade Jack Eichel, because you wasted a couple years of tanking to get a linchpin franchise player like Eichel. But Elliot Friedman reported on Saturday that the Sabres are basically willing to listen to any offer on anybody except Jack Eichel. I'm telling you right now, if I'm teams out there looking for defense, I'm lining up for Rasmus Ristolainen. And Toronto should be at the head of that list.
They should be, but again, he hasn't scored a goal yet either. It
doesn't matter. He's 6'4", 220 pounds. He plays 26 minutes a night. He scored 40 points, over 40 points, two of the last 3 years. I don't care what he's doing right now. He's a good defenseman. He's a top pairing guy. Now, I say all that, and why would Buffalo trade him? Well, they probably won't. But what they might be thinking is, we're a couple years away. This group clearly isn't winning. He signed for 4 more years after this year. Maybe we're ready to take a little step back and get younger and get more assets for one guy who it's clearly not working with right now. I don't think they're going to trade him, but I'm saying those are the type of decisions that Botterill has to make, because this is he has to undo the mess that Tim Murray left him.
Yeah, no, he does. He does. And I think at some point, I don't think they're going to move him, but I think at some point they need to do more than just put Matt Molson on waivers. It doesn't.
That was the first move. That was just a warning shot.
I bet. I would venture to say, and I've heard this possible, that Molson clears waivers and is traded immediately. I think they've been working on a trade with him, and they obviously want somebody. Somebody wants to, Buffalo to hold on to some of the money, right? That's what's going to happen with that situation. So
that's possible. You got to remember, though.
They're not getting much from Matt Molson, though.
I don't think they're getting anything from Matt Molson. He's got a year left on his contract after this year. It was a front-loaded deal, so a buyout would only cost the team, I think, $1 million on a buyout next year. So, if somebody thinks that there's still something left there, if the Islanders want him to play with John Tavares again, which I seriously doubt, but I'm just saying, they would have to take a haircut on that deal.
I think Matt Molson's just going to play in the AHL like Wade Redden did and ride out his deal. I don't think anybody's going to take him.
He's clearly too slow for the NHL now.
Yeah,
that's very possible. I've heard Vegas had some interest, though. It'd be interesting to see what they would do. I think they would only do it if money was kept, though. And it would be a trade of some kind.
Yeah, but they have room.
Yeah, they have room, but they still don't.
They can just swallow up the contract if they want to.
Yeah,
they don't want to pay. They're they have room, but the way they're looking, they're going to try to do other things too. So they're not going to go. Yeah, they're not.
I would be very shocked if they took Matt Molson.
Sure.
So not many teams on Saturday night can say that. Not many teams ever in the NHL this late in the season. I mean, in December, can say they scored 13% of their season's goals in one game.
Oh,
but the Montreal Canadiens can. They getting 10 goals on Saturday night against the Red Wings. And what we talked about, how the Montreal Canadiens were chasing the Red Wings, and they were going to have the Red Wings a couple times, and these were going to be big games. Well, Montreal definitely took it to Detroit. I mean, getting 10 goals and going from 68 to 78 goals, that's pretty crazy. But the really crazy stat about this, 10 goals. All right, so normally in that situation, you're going to get a lot of guys with great stats, a lot of guys with great plus minuses. 10-1, you won. Max Pacioretty was an even and had no points.
He could be playing hurt. Something's wrong.
Like 17 minutes in a 10-goal game, gets no points.
Yeah, I think he's hurt. I do.
Something's got to be up. I mean, I'm not screaming because something's got to be up. I mean, that's just crazy. I mean, Galchenyuk had 4 assists. He had a big game.
I'll tell you who's looking good too. Galchenyuk, we expected out of. I think people got a little on Paul Byron early in the year because he got a new deal and he had a hat trick and now he's got 9 goals. Like, Paul Byron's still a really good player for them. He really is.
He's a perfect NHL player in this era. He fits this era. The way he plays, the speed he has, he plays at a high tempo. I mean, Brendan Gallagher had a big game for them too. He looked good.
Yeah, he needs to step it up. There's no doubt. But look, I mean, as we were talking, all of a sudden they got Price back, and Price looked good for a game, and all of a sudden their confidence came back. I mean, that's really
they're in the playoffs right now. They're third place.
Not for a game. Price was second star of the week this week. I think.
No, I know, but that first game.
Yeah.
After that, I noticed the uptick in the Montreal offense starting to happen. That's right.
Price had like a crazy record last week. He stopped all but 2 shots all week or something like that. It was just like something ridiculous like that.
And they played him in back-to-back games, which was unusual coming off whatever injury he was having.
Oh my God. Some goalies survive playing in back-to-back games.
Well, no, I'm just saying right now in the current.
Oh, you're right.
Sports science says no, but yeah,
it's so ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, it's incredible to me. The Jets continue to roll, and they are really. I mean, they are really looking at that.
I wouldn't call one fourth quarter win roll. Oh, you mean the other Jets? Oh,
yes, the actual Jets, the real Jets.
Oh, wait a minute! Don't go there.
The Jets that I care about. They got they're 5-0.
Those are Canadian Jets. They're inferior.
5-0 win over Ottawa. Ottawa has struggled for sure lately.
I mean the Jet, Mike, not the players. Sorry.
Yeah, that was that was a great game for the Jets. So, and again, Patrick Laine now has 49 goals in 100 games.
Yeah,
something crazy like that.
It's not that crazy, but it's pretty great.
Yeah,
it's still behind Austin Matthews.
Here's the thing, though. Now have people finally stopped bitching about Chevy? Are they done bitching about him now?
Yeah, I mean, right now
now can people understand why he was never fired? Because it is a process, and it does take a while for all these things to come into place.
Yes, it took a very long time there, and it couldn't have taken any longer. Let me put it that way. In today, here's the thing. This year, or else we talked about at the beginning of the year. Like, I've been a big Chevy fan. He's been very nice to me.
How's Arizona doing? They're doing the same thing. How's Edmonton doing?
Oh yeah, no, I know. But
I mean, it's hard in this league now.
Oh, yeah, no. But at the beginning of the year, I was also like, Chevy had to do it this year.
I like Chevy, but I prefer Hondas.
Yeah. This is the year. This is the year. All that aside, that
yes,
Kevin Cheveldayoff had to have something like that.
But isn't their top line all drafted guys? I mean, there's some great things going on here.
Why I picked him in for second place?
Yeah, you were the only one. I give you credit.
Thanks, I appreciate that. About time.
Well, the credit I give you for the Jets, I take away for that shirt. But anyhow.
Wow.
What's wrong with this shirt?
Well, no. Let's look at the other side of the spectrum, especially from yesterday's game, because I turned on the Winnipeg Ottawa game and it was 3-0 and it was quickly 5-0. And this is not a blip with the Senators. The Senators are in deep trouble. People thought that the Duchesne deal was going to turn things around. It hasn't. They're not getting the goaltending that they got last year. Condon let in 5 goals. He got pulled for Anderson. That was the second game in a row that they used both goaltenders. They're not a high-scoring team. They've never been a high-scoring team. Carlson is Carlson, but there's something a little bit off right now, and I think it's probably he's coming back from that off-season surgery, and it's just taking him a little bit. You know, they got a good performance out of Thomas Chabot. He's a good young rookie defenseman.
I've watched him a few games. He's looking good.
But they're not scoring enough, and there's just something missing there. And in the way, I mean, yes, Montreal had one good week and they're back in the playoffs, and in the Atlantic, if you do that, you're back in the race. But they haven't been good for a month, and that has to be a concern because I don't know how many moves Pierre Dorian really has, unless he's going to start trading up their prospects for short-term fixes.
Well, here's the thing. I think the two things that have hurt them, and one of them was the Derek Brassard trade because they traded to get a guy with a little term on him for a guy that they weren't going to re-sign, right? And they did the same thing.
It wasn't that they weren't going to re-sign him. He was an RFA. They were going to have to re-sign him, but they traded for a guy who had a front-loaded contract who had been paid most of his money. So it was a cheapskate move by the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I forgot about the front-loaded part. And now, no slight to Matt Duchesne because I fully expect him to come out of this, but they did the same kind of deal again. And again, this is not on Pierre Dorian. He can only do with what he could spend. I mean, he is under constraints there, and I think those two trades have hurt them.
Yeah, and Kyle Turris, as you know, Kyle Turris is playing really well in Nashville. I saw some of the Nashville game this weekend. He's playing really good. He's playing just like as he did in Ottawa. Ottawa had no interest in signing him to the extension, apparently, because that's the reason that they were so anxious to trade him. And honestly, the comments that came out that last week in relation to the article, the Athletic article with Drew Doughty that came out from Erik Karlsson, basically saying, I'm not taking any hometown discount. You're going to pay me what I'm worth. Okay, well, then he's going someplace else because I don't know if Ottawa's going to pay him.
Yesterday or late last night or whatever in Sweden today is, I guess, 6 hours ago, an article came out in Sweden where Karlsson claims he was misinterpreted and that he wants to stay in Ottawa as his first priority. This came out this week. I don't know why this came out.
This was a Google Translate error, right? Is that what he's going to blame it on?
English to everybody when he said it. I mean, it wasn't like he was.
I don't know. I mean, come on. This is damage control. I mean, Doughty basically said the same thing. He says, I'm going to get what I'm worth. My first priority is to stay in LA, but that doesn't mean he's not going to entertain offers from other places. And the Kings had no problem with that. What the difference is the Ottawa Senators probably have a problem with that because if he leaves, they don't have a franchise anymore. That team is destitute without Erik Karlsson there.
Yeah, that's the truth. No, I think that this is Karlsson doing the damage control, but I think it's definitely what it sounds like to me. The other game that we have to talk about too, which was really a great game, was the Edmonton Calgary game, and I had a really good feeling of I was going to say it on Friday. We ran out of time, but I was just convinced 100% that Edmonton was going to win this game. Like everything was going in the wrong direction for Edmonton. Their goaltending had been terrible, and everything and they did win this game, but barely. And they were up 6-1 in the third period. Yeah. And then Calgary scores 4 goals in the span of like 5 minutes to make it 6-5, and then Gaudreau hits the post with a chance to tie it with like a minute after that. And somehow they managed, Nugent Hopkins gets a huge goal, like a huge goal for them at the end, but I guess with the goalie out. I'm not sure if that was a goalie out or not goal, but I know that it was just nuts. I mean, they really had the thing but and this is a typical Edmonton thing. Like we always talk about the East Coast Edmonton games. You watch them and they're like, after the first period you go to sleep thinking Edmonton's going to be fine, and then you wake up the next morning and they've lost it or tied it. This is that typical. But the really big thing to me in this game was Jesse Pujärvi comes up, and scores 2 goals in the first period. Mm-hmm. and just giving him 3 and 4 on the year, and if PRV can do something like it, can start to do something like this, that makes a huge difference on the Oilers.
Well, it gives them an option on the wing that they've been desperately missing. Yeah. He was absent without leave on Thursday against Toronto. You didn't even notice him. I mean, the one thing I noticed from this game was the fact that for 2 games in a row, Edmonton got some production out of their fourth line. When Zach Kassian isn't losing his head, he's actually got some talent.
Yeah, and the test too.
And Jara and Mark Letestu. That's a tough line to match up against as a fourth line. They have some talent, they have some size, and it can provide some matchup problems for a team. Yeah, if Puljujarvi has grown up all of a sudden, then Edmonton has some, then I think one of their main needs that they have to go after before the deadline is eliminated. I think they need another scoring winger, which ironically is what they traded when they traded Jordan Eberle, and I don't think they've really gotten it with Ryan Strome.
Yeah, but he's 19 again. Right. Things like this were being said about Nick Ritchie, if you remember, and Nick Ritchie now is a world beater. With these power forwards, it takes time. I mean,
I'm not. I think that I'm just thinking that are we starting to see it? Are we starting to see it?
I don't know. We only may be seeing flashes still. But I think we're eventually going to see it.
It's too much to expect out of a 19-year-old to provide consistency.
On a team that really doesn't have consistency on their own. You're right.
Right, and I mean the problem areas continue to be their defense, and now their goaltending because Talbot is out, and all the indications is that Talbot's going to be out as much as a month, and Brisson, as like he did, he allowed 5 goals against Calgary. I'm not saying they were all his fault. I didn't see all of them, but you cannot go through a month of the season where they are in the standings with Ellis as their backup, who I don't know anything about, and Brisson as their number 1. They, if Peter Chiarelli's not on the phone calling any team with an extra goaltender, what do you want? I'd be shocked.
Yeah, no, he is. There's no question he is. There's no. I mean, and the goalie situation right now. 2 goalies that I heard over the last couple of days, and they've been, obviously, Buffalo's getting calls on their goalies, which
Chad Johnson and Leonard, yeah.
Yeah, which is I don't know. I mean, Johnson, I would be afraid of Leonard, but
well, he's only under contract for this year, and he's an RFA. So if a team doesn't like what they see, they can just not qualify him, and he walks.
That's true. That's true. But I've also heard Aaron Dell getting people like Todd. So there's which is surprising. I know because the Sharks apparently are really not. I mean, they play Dell a lot, and he's done a great job for them. But he's also, I guess, a UFA, and feeling is that that he's not going to be back there. So,
well, I mean, Martin Jones' new contract kicks in next year, and that's a hefty. So if he's a UFA, I didn't know that he was, but if he's a UFA,
UFA or RFA, I'm not sure. One of the two, I'll find out.
Yeah, I mean, you can go out and get yourself a backup goaltender for $1 million. So if you're going to have to spend more than that for Aaron Dell, then But I mean, there are other teams out there.
Yes, he's a UFA. Sorry, he's a UFA.
He's a UFA. Okay. I mean, we've heard Eddie Lack's name. We've heard Michael Hutchinson's name, Andrew Hammond. I would not be surprised if the Maple Leafs are getting calls on Calvin Pickard, who's playing very well in the AHL.
But here's the thing, like Jerry had a shutout, so now Pittsburgh's not calling anybody until they.
Right.
Pittsburgh and Dell. That's the team I heard that would go after Aaron Dell.
Well, Pittsburgh needs Pittsburgh needs the backup. They needed the backup before Jerry.
What does San Jose do when they trade Dell? They need
That's what
they have to have another. I mean, I don't know who their other goalie is, but they must have somebody else that they're okay with, or they're going to get a goalie back in the deal or something. Not from Pittsburgh.
Well, the team, they're trading for a goaltender. So Troy Grubnik.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what they're.
And also,
they have Antoine Bibeau.
Also, Michael Neuvert.
They have Antoine Bibeau, right? That's who came up the other day. There's no way they're riding with Bibeau if they think they're a playoff team.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but Neuvert's names come up as well.
No, Neuvert I could see because, again, that's a situation where one of those goalies probably has to go.
Yeah, I think I could see Neuvert going to Edmonton. I really could. That makes tons of sense to me. And I know Edmonton's been checking that out too. I don't think the Flyers trade Neuvirth to Pittsburgh.
No.
I mean, it's not impossible. If they're totally out of the playoffs whatever. But Neuvirth still has another year after this, right? He's got 2 years, so that would be kind of surprising. But I definitely could see Neuvirth would be a good option in Edmonton.
Yeah, Neuvirth has 1 more year, $2.5 million.
Yeah, it would be
they'll trade him. They will.
It would be a really strong option at some point because they are sold on Elliott. That's who they're going to go with. Which is surprising. So that the goaltending rumors have been interesting lately. They've been the ones that have been popping up. We talked about the Nash thing, but the one thing that happened on Saturday, Mike Keenan is a free agent. Mike Keenan is UFA. Come on, guys.
Come on.
Bring him back. Come on.
It's an interesting thing because the Flyers have a 10-game losing streak. Their coach is intact. Keenan gets a 9-game losing streak. He gets fired, and we don't know what a KHL firing is like. Like we hope to see Mike Keenan again.
Who gave Hextall his start in the NHL?
Oh, come on.
Look, Ranger fans and Flyers fans are having fun with this, but it's a different regime. They're not doing it.
I'm just saying. I mean, do you think Tippett's the answer? Do you think?
I don't think either one of them is the guy for Hextall. No.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think that it's very interesting because I know that they really like Lindy Ruff, and I know Lindy Ruff's gonna, you're not gonna get permission from Rangers,
I don't think he's the answer either.
Not saying he's the answer, but I'm saying that's. Mike Keenan, that's just an intriguing one to me, like in a lot of ways.
There's no intrigue. No, there's zero intrigue. It's not gonna happen.
I don't know.
Oh my God.
I don't know.
No, I have the coach for you, Ak, and you will absolutely love this. Ron Hextall is going to place a phone call to Michelle Therrien.
Nope. Never happened.
No. Remember Danny Briere's on staff here in Philly now.
Okay.
That will never, ever, ever happen. Could you imagine?
Just kidding.
That will not happen, no. But I don't know. I think that, I really, like I said, beyond, you're also starting to see writers write about Hextall too, so.
Or hey, they may take a page from another sport. They may take a page from the New York Yankees, who hired Aaron Boone out of the booth. Maybe they'll hire Ilya Brizgalov as the next coach.
I've got the guy.
Yeah.
And this guy used to be a teammate of Ron Hextall.
Dave Poulin.
Nope.
Okay, give us a little bit of a hint because he played a number of places, Russ.
This guy's only played 30 total games in the NHL. He
made where?
Parts of 4 seasons with the Flyers, 84 to 88.
Okay.
He is a defenseman.
Gord Murphy.
Nope.
He's out there too.
Ed Van Imp.
Nope.
Gary Galley.
Older than that, isn't he?
Yeah. Galley's not that good. That's a good one.
And this guy is an AHL coach right now.
Wow. I have no idea.
Mike Stothers. He's a coach for the Ontario Reign.
Okay.
So he's got the Kings and Flyers connection and a former teammate of Ron Hextall.
Okay.
Someone put Darryl Sutter as an idea for the Flyers.
No way.
Imagine that. I can't.
No. Hextall would never get along with him.
Dallas Aikens.
Yeah, I would go for that.
No, I don't think he'll do that. I'm telling you, it's Mike Stothers. I'm telling you.
Okay.
We don't know. We don't have any idea what kind of coach Hextall would like because this is like I said.
We don't. We really have no idea.
Strangest, like this coach doesn't have there's such a weird personality. There's a crazy amount of.
We do know one thing. Well, we do know one thing, Ek. Even with Hextall, he said the other day he likes what he does with the younger players. So he does want a coach that's going to work with the younger players. And Mike Stothers is working with nothing but younger players in the AHL, except for maybe a few veterans.
Yeah, yeah, and they also like the guy. They like Gordon, right? Who's at Lehigh.
Yes. Well, Gordon would definitely be the interim, and then they would definitely see where he's at.
Yeah, he could be a good one. Be a good one for them. All right, I guess Russ froze there, or no?
I froze.
He froze to me, but maybe that was me.
All right.
Okay, so yeah, I think that's just about all I've got here on this end of things. Remember to support the site. Support the rumor charts live and well. I was going to do one today, but I don't have time to do it today. We'll do one. We'll do some more tomorrow for sure on the rumor chart.
And we'll have Kevin Allen tomorrow at 3 p.m.
Tomorrow, that'll be good. And
Ontario Reign have a winning record. They're 9-8, just so you know, in case you keep.
Mike Stothers, yeah, I remember Mike Stothers for sure. He lived not too far from us as a kid. So yeah, I think this will so basically go to HockeyBuzz. We really appreciate your support there, and go to Reddit. Go to patreon.com/hockey, and if you want to support the show, we really appreciate that. I know we're getting a lot of questions about the thing not being on iTunes right now, and
that's beyond our control.
Beyond our control at this point. So we're working on alternatives for that, but it will be back. So you can always check it out here for sure. But hopefully that'll be fixed shortly. That's the company we're using is having issues with that. So, but we will either find another one or they will fix their issue soon. Remember, folks, without the buzz, it is just hockey. We will talk to you tomorrow. Enjoy the games tonight. It's a good one.